presentation of petitions, which there are none, and then we move on to item 6, the Chief Executive.
Thank you. If I can just make 3 comments. One is just to highlight that we had a team of people come together for the Sorghum Challenge team. This time that the organisation had entered that and came third out of 16 teams, which was actually a tremendous result, and really highly commended in terms of the work that they did together as a team. And the challenge was around engaging citizens, so they had a number of tasks to do around that, and did very well. Second thing, of course, is over the last few weeks, Sarah is no longer, and a lot of the functions have been transferred to a number of other Crown agencies, along with some functions to us. There will be a meeting, that means a number of other interfaces for us, and working together closely with other Crown agencies as well as Regenerate Christchurch Otakaro and DCL. And so there's a meeting in early May with the chief executives of all those agencies to actually talk about how we work together, how we support each other, how we make sure we've coordinated functions across those various agencies. And just the third item I wanted to highlight was the request to appoint Councillor Scandrett to the Rockfall Protection Structures Committee, which is really I apologise for that. So the Rockfall Protection Structures Committee set up in February 2014 to receive, assess and determine and complete applications for funding of rockfall protection structures, and it has representatives from the affected community boards. And Councillor Scandrett has been attending in observer status, so we would like to make that formal.
Thank you.
All right, Paul?
Just got a concern around, obviously, the recent fire in Taylor's Mistake. I was up at Nicholson's Park in the weekend, and I have, on a number of occasions, solved some issues around the gardening and the maintenance of that particular park. So I'm concerned that maybe this park slipped off the radar, and I happened to speak to a resident who actually fronts on to the reserve in front, and she's only about 5'2", and she said she was down there in the grass and it was up to her neck. So she was concerned that a fire hazard, and obviously again with the Taylor's Mistake fire happening just recently, this is quite a concern for the people that live there. It's been quite depopulated, and obviously maintenance needs to be held up, but I can tell you the Nicholson's Park looks like it slipped completely off the schedule from somewhere. Everything's overgrown, the garden is just full of weeds, the lawn doesn't look like it's been mowed particularly well. So I just wonder, with some of the change in contractors, making sure that some of these parks actually are still on some maintenance schedule, obviously for the fire risk that this could pose.
I'm sure it's not related to change of contractors, but just in terms of the regular maintenance regime. So we can take that back and get that checked out.
Fabulous, thank you.
Welcome to the Eastern Suburbs Parks and Gardens.
Glenn and then Phil.
Thank you for this report, Colleen. I just note under financial snapshot there, extra rates income 4.2 million. Is that 1% effectively of extra rates?
Slightly more.
Slightly more.
There's your answer.
Thank you. And just on the roading and transport underspend of 22 million, could I please have a specific response somewhere over what we're doing to, by way of assuming the skirt program, so they will finish at the end of 2016. Are we already geared up or getting geared up? No, we don't need to wait for them. We can act now. And
correct. So we have a whole program around the skirt transition that looks at a whole range of things. So it's not just about taking over the work, it's about taking over the information, making sure that we have all the detailed information that they have around our infrastructure, about the planning and the delivery of the work as well. So that's an ongoing process because it's a substantial work program. We can perhaps update you around that at some stage.
okay, that'd be great.
Specifically.
Okay, thank you.
Who was it? Phil, was it? Phil.
Yeah. Colleen, I just wanted to make a comment about the representation review outcome. and particularly note how our council, you said, was commended by the Commission for a robust public engagement, and over 3,000 people engaged. So I think often our council can be criticised for not going far enough with their consultation, but clearly in this case, and in this whole area where representation for people is a primary focus of council, and such a good job was in fact done, so that the Commission commended us. So I'm sure other councillors would join me in asking you to thank the staff involved for that very hard work.
Thank you. They'll appreciate that.
Yanni? Yanni, Jamie, and then Jimmy.
Thank you for the report. I had several questions. The press reported yesterday that we'd agreed as council to the director's fees for Regen Christchurch, but I don't think we've signed off on that. So can you just clarify if we have agreed to that, or if there's a process for us to consider?
I think the director's fees are the standard state services fees that they use, right?
Yeah.
So just so I'm clear, it's not correct that we've agreed to it. That's just something that's set by government.
It didn't come from. Didn't go before the council, but the government notified that those were the fees that they were going to pay their directors. So we are paying our directors the same. Everyone's paid the same.
Right, but it's not a decision that we made, and
It's not a decision that
we
came
have
to council.
We have agreed on. Yep, so cool. Thanks for clarifying that. The freedom camping, I was just concerned to understand what you're doing in terms of maintenance of the areas that have been closed. Just again, picking up on the concerns that have been raised around, if you take Humphreys Drive, the windsurf park, the main toilet block is closed. There's still portaloos there. The rubbish bins are overflowing. It just doesn't look like there's been much attention paid to dealing with the impacts of it post the closure or the temporary ban of freedom camping. So have you got a program to actually actively monitor those sites around maintenance, around getting the facilities actually back in reasonable working condition?
So there was actually quite a lot of additional maintenance during the period that they were open for freedom campers, and once they were closed, in terms of tidying them up to the point that they were prior to that, there hasn't been any, and there'll be just a regular maintenance program from this point until a decision is made about whether they reopened or remain closed. So that review is underway and will be coming to council shortly.
So why would the water be disconnected in Humphreys Drive and portaloos still be in place?
Well, I guess they're not being used in the way that they were, but I can check up on that.
I just think, I know we were over in Akaroa yesterday and there were concerns being raised as well around French Farm, so I just think it would be good to have an understanding of what maintenance is being done or what restoration is being done post freedom camping.
We can do that when we provide a review of those temporary sites.
Oh, can we do it sooner? Do we need to wait for a review?
I think it's coming fairly soon to one of the committees.
Okay, I was more interested in the maintenance, not the bylaw review, but just
It's not the bylaw review, it's the review of the temporary sites that were closed.
Okay, great.
But isn't that a question for the say for Dave Adams or something to get the maintenance happening?
Well, yeah, it's part of
So there are two different issues here, aren't there?
They're two separate issues.
So
but
operational
maybe
was one.
that's from an operational perspective. If there are, it's always the way that after a site's been made available for a purpose, that there might be a bit of a rundown feeling. I know that New Brighton felt that. For a whole lot of reasons as well.
Could the contracts managers just come back to us and tell us areas, whether it's Eddington or French Farm or whatever?
So it
that's
just
what we need,
picks up on the concern that Paul's raised around the fire hazard. And, when you've got vegetation overgrowing around rubbish bins, for example, just looks like someone's just either forgotten, it's not on a contract or it's not. So that, I am concerned. I just wanted to
absolutely
endorse those concerns.
Actually, that's the operational point, isn't it?
Yeah.
An update on all of those areas, because the French Farm area, it was not the freedom campers. In terms of the numbers, it certainly was, but that was not what caused the closure. There was a maintenance issue, an underlying maintenance issue that really does. Cool. And I guess what councillors are saying is that they want to have an update update to ensure that those sites, in terms of the maintenance schedule, are properly maintained.
And whilst I'm reasonably familiar with what's happening at French Farm, other councillors wouldn't be, and I'm sure local councillors might be aware of what's happening in other areas. I wouldn't be. So a joined up update.
So just a joined up, a summary on that,
And maybe just an instruction to the operations to actually go and look at what's the, because I know our board would be keen to submit around better levels of service if that's needed, or if existing services levels are okay, but it's just been a gap somewhere. Just the final question I had was just wondering, I look at the underspend in terms of the capital expenditure, the earthquake rebuild, and the operational results, and I just wondered what the process is for the skirt repairs to be looking at betterment. We don't seem to get any request for betterment, so when we're getting streets that are being considered and we've got money on budget that we're not spending, it seems silly to delay renewing them if actually we've got the funding and Skirt are doing work in the street. So is there any steps you're taking to reinforce the need for a more strategic look at the betterment opportunities through Skirt in line with our capital renewals or capital program? Because we're still not seeing any of that coming to us as elected members for decisions.
I'll hand over to Dave.
As we move forward, and there's a memo that's been prepared at the moment, well, it's gone out to some of the councillors around how we're integrating BAU and also the Skirt. Obviously, Skirt's trying to wind down, and I've got that deadline of December, so they're very important at wanting to try and get the work that's needed to be done under that horizontal infrastructure, because you've got to appreciate the Crown's walking away from all their funding at the end of June, so we've got to get through that maintenance period to make sure all that work's done. There are opportunities to have a look at the way we're integrating, but some of those opportunities are quite expensive, and we are now putting forward a combined work program, and we're looking at alternative delivery models of how we deliver it. It may incorporate a subset of Skirt, and it may look at other things. So we are looking at trying to integrate those as much as possible within the existing budget that we've got. You've got to appreciate that there are some areas that we've only got a certain amount of budget that we can go forward on.
Yeah, but I think that as a council, we've been anticipating receiving requests for betterment, and I'm just thinking of the one that David Easter's just flicked by again, which is the different types of guttering that's applying in a single street, and it's a street that's going to have to be repaired, and I know it leads on to a residential red zone. So I mean, there are huge challenges as far as the street goes, but it's just, it's frustrating when you see multiple returns to sites to get the good outcome that we're expecting.
And that one we did look at, and I think David has been replied to on that, is around the $2 million. Sorry,
I haven't had a word about it yet.
Sorry, I've got an email that I'll redo that email then, because certainly I got CC'd into a copy of that email, but that's been sitting,
but I mean, that's the point I'm trying to make.
That's been festering for about a month now, and I've heard nothing about it, but it is frustrating when we are being told today that our operating expenditure is below plan, our capital expenditure is well below plan, and yet, I drive down Barbados Street and here we are replacing half a kilometre or more of curb and channel along St Albans Park, which has no benefit to residents at all, and yet we're doing Bower Ave and patching in deep channel, flat channel, new deep channel, all in the same bits. We've got grotty bits of old deep channel still being patched in, and we were led to believe several months ago that we were going to prioritise a lot of work around the city. I don't see it happening.
Yeah, but we are, and there has been an email come back, because I mean, several colleagues have been raising these issues, and in an appropriate way referred them through the appropriate level of the executive to get responses. And so there's a response come today that explains that we actually have legal obligations in terms of high-use streets in terms of our obligation as a roading authority. So, you know, as I say, we're getting to the bottom of these issues. It is part of our LTP process, the amendment that we're going through at the moment, where we are adjusting the capital program to prioritise, as we've said, that expenditure on earthquake-related damage as opposed to the sort of kind of BAU renewals. But what is being described here is not just BAU renewals. It is a legal obligation around high-use roads that are at risk of rapid deterioration, and then also at the same time addressing earthquake damaged roads as far as practical. So it's around that issue that we will be debating the plan.
It's particularly frustrating where you have one street that for 30 years has been a high priority, and now we're just patching, and probably within the next 5 years we're going to come back and
the amount of work
rip it
that
up
had
again.
to be done underground in Bower Ave is extraordinary, you know. So I mean, it's not that simple. It's not a straight one or the other.
Wairaki Road is beautiful. It's had underground work too.
Everyone's complained. Well, some people have complained about Wairaki Road. It's the busiest second road to the airport after Fendleton Road and Memorial Ave. It is an extremely busy road. And so, but I also know, because I use it myself, that it is a road that had significant underground repairs. They had to completely replace the main trunk line, or whatever it is, underground. I don't even know what those pipes are.
Hills Road's also very busy.
Hills Road is a disgrace.
It's almost like we need to see a multi-criteria analysis of how these roads are assessed so that we get some idea.
And there are all of those things available, and I think that we need to kind of take this offline, but bring it back as part of the debate around the LTP. This is the very issue that we have asked the organisation to prioritise. I guess the frustration, Dave, that you're hearing from us is that for a long time we haven't been receiving requests for betterment, and yet we kind of anticipated receiving more requests for betterment as a result of the wind down of the skirt program, not less.
Yeah.
So, so that's really
I think it's
the
just
issue.
a frustration of clarity of...
Sorry, there's no betterment money left in the betterment account, so I just don't have any money to go and say that we'll get it. Basically, we are going to come back with a paper as part of the annual plan. You've asked for that paper about how do we prioritise renewals, replacements. Some of the roads that you mentioned aren't even our roads, they're state highways, so that's not in our program. Some of the other roads, if we don't do it now, it'll cost you a heck of a lot more in the future. But
I'm sorry, I haven't
I
mentioned a state highway. Wairaki Road is not...
Lincoln Road's been mentioned a number of times. That's nothing to do with us. It's all state highway.
Yes, but so the
I
concern...
didn't mention Lincoln Road. Well, we've talked about Bower Ave, we've talked about Wairaki Road and Memorial Ave and Fendleton Road.
So the concern I have is in the rush to finish the skirt works, the opportunity to actually... So I in my view, it's really simple. Like, if you've got a street that's going to have 4 different types of curb and channel, and I've sent through for the last 2 years examples of where it's happening to try and stop it from happening again, but it's still happening, then actually that generates a report to council saying Bower Ave was on the list to be renewed in year 20. Skirt are currently proposing to do the repairs to this standard. The opportunity, the cost savings of doing the full renewal now versus later is X. Do you wish to do it as a council? And we're not seeing that.
But what I didn't understand was that all of the money that had been placed on budget for betterment has been spent. I didn't know that. So, look, we need to get a proper report on this. There's no point sitting here debating it.
So can I move?
No, I'm not accepting a resolution off the back of this discussion. We have already asked staff for a paper to do with our long-term plan and our annual plan process. I'm not going to take a motion off the back of a council, a chief executive report that is not specific in this regard. So I'm just going to take it offline and we will come back to it. I've got Jamie, Jimmy, then Ali and Dave.
I had a question around the underspend project delivery, budgeting accuracy, but you know what, I'm going to leave that one. I'll just park that for the time being. Let's take that offline. And it's an easy one that I will give you for this telling. And can I just say though, and I have given credit where credit's due, your CE report is exceptional. Every time I read it, it's very, very refreshing. You give us the info that we need to have in a clear and concise way, and it's presented really well. So thank you for that. The only thing that I'm a little bit unclear on, and I do sometimes drill into this health and safety stuff a bit just with my background in this area, but it was why do we do ACC costs and not TRIFA, or total recordable injury frequency rates? Is there a reason why we do that and not incidents?
No, I think it's just historical. So we are actually going to revamp this report, and particularly around health and safety, so that the councillors, as you will require, better reporting and more detailed reporting, so that you understand what the risks are and what we're doing about it.
Okay, so this is a work in progress and probably not going to last anyway.
No.
Okay, thank you.
Jimmy?
Yeah, okay, thank you, Mayor. Two questions. First question on page 16. Regarding to the Local Government Official Information and the Meetings Act. My question is if the elected member, councillor or committee board member request the official information, whether it is still under this act or it's a separate, it's only the, suitable for the residents only.
If you request information as a Goima, not necessarily, it depends on the information.
Okay, but recently I asked the one information official, the staff told me they need to under this the law. I just want to clarify with you.
Depends on what's being asked.
Okay. Second question is on page 20 regarding to the community engagement, the Horsewell Skate and the recreation park. Popular date in here has been the amendment. Yes, the staff will organize the community the workshop on 7th of June, because after the consultation, this issue is quite a wide range, dispute. So the staff try to find out more detail, give the people the result consultation, and also to let those interest group can help the staff to investigate the kind of the suitable location to meet the majority people need. So this on 17th of May actually is not correct.
Okay.
Just want to mention that.
Yep.
Thank you.
We'll change that.
Ellie?
I want to return very briefly. I know we're getting a report and we're moving on from the issue of roads, but I still am a little confused over the issue related to budgets, and I just wanted to clarify. When Dave Adamson mentions there is no money in the betterment account, is this issue related to budgets and money, or is it related to resourcing and deliverability around the resourcing? Because over the last year or so I've heard that it is all about deliverability and resourcing, because I have always argued that we needed to release more capital in order to get this work done, and I've always been told that it's about deliverability and resourcing and not money, but that's not what I've just heard from Mr. Adamson.
No,
Okay.
and I wasn't aware of that either. So
Right.
can we just deal with this
That's fine, I just
as part
wanted
of the
to
total
clarify
thing?
that
'Cause
issue, because
I
it's-
did think
right.
that there was an allocation for betterment, but you're quite right, it is about a budget, it's not about deliverability. So the question is if there isn't
Money.
a betterment, if there is nothing left in the betterment account or fund or budget,
And
as
we
it
have the
were,
resources.
then we need to
Thank you.
review that.
Thank you.
Yeah, David.
I think Ali sort of just touched on the subject that I very wanted to raise, and I appreciate the betterment is not there, but I think the frustrating part for myself, and I'm sure I speak for Glenn and people out our way, is we've been talking for ages about prioritising our work, and yet we see examples all the time of work being done that many of us would consider as not a priority at this stage. And so I'm not sure when we are going to, or if we are going to, but I would certainly like to see a complete review of the BAU program, and to be able to say, well, we need to inject more money into a certain road to do an integrated program as we go. Maybe we can only do this by pushing some of the other projects out and advancing some money into these other areas. This is a process
How is that any
was...
different from what we've just said?
Yes, I know, but it's not happening.
That's what we're
I
getting a
want some
report on.
clarity. I want to see
Yes, you're
some
going to get
clarity.
it. You're going to get it like everyone else
hang on.
wants
I
it.
just
You're
want
not
to see some-
alone in this.
No, you're not alone.
You know,
No,
you're
I know,
making it
but
sound as if you're the
Can
only
we
person
see
that's
some
been raising
clarity
it.
in our
Everyone has.
prioritisation of roading repairs, please?
And that's exactly what the annual plan is about, and the work that we've
Well,
done
it's
around it.
taking a goddamn long time to
That's
process.
because it doesn't come back to us until we sign off at the end of June.
And in the meantime,
In the
dozens of
meantime, we are in
projects
the
slip through the
process
net and we're going to come
of
back and it's
winding
going to
down
cost us a
Skirt.
fortune more.
Yeah, it's a process issue around the HIG, not referring things to us.
Anyway, so,
Nothing to do with budget.
I will move that we receive the report and appoint councillor Scandrett to the Rockfall Protection Structures Committee. Do I have a seconder? Phil, I'll put that motion. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no, that's carried. Right, item 8, Northern Access Bus Lanes.
That's been taken off.
Been pulled.
It's been withdrawn.
I'll move that line on the table.
Oh. Sorry, by email.
Sick of trying to...
Sorry, I didn't read an email. That item's been withdrawn.
Do 7?
Sorry, I think, don't you need a formal resolution to do that? I think we've discussed this previously. No?
Have we done item 7?
Yeah.